into that category. You'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program? Well, why don't you drop us a line? Address it to a Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown in Nevis. Or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. By the way, those will be the numbers that you will use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized, and when you get in the show, you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards, but we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. You can also follow our live stream on YouTube, our YouTube page. Click your YouTube page, and our Facebook page. Click those for the live video stream of this show. Thank you again. Your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. Tonight we have two segments. The first segment, we'll be speaking with officers from the Police Cooperative Credit Union, and we'll be finding out how the organization is doing and what is this special occasion why we're bringing this forum to you to talk to them this evening. So that will be our first segment for this evening. We'll be back with our first segment right after this.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938.
And so we are back with our first segment for this evening, the Police Cooperative Credit Union. And joining us from St. Kitts, Milicia Phillip, who is the General Manager of the Police Cooperative Credit Union. Mrs. Lynn Bass is the Operations Manager, and Patrice Ward, Mr. Patrice Ward, is the Loans Supervisor. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Webbo.
It's so good to have all of you here this evening, and here is what we're going to do. We're going to ask each one of you to, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, your position, and then, no doubt, each one of you will have something you'd like to tell us about in reference to your area in the Police Cooperative Credit Union. And then, when we have heard from everybody, then I got one or two little questions I want to ask, and then so we'll see how it goes from there. How about that?
That sounds excellent.
Okay, so is this Milicia?
It is.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did.
And it
you
is
did an absolute amazing job.
Okay, so I'm good at learning. It's not Melissa.
It's not Melissa, it's Milicia.
Milicia. Okay, Milicia, it's good to have you. So go ahead.
Well, good evening, Mr. Herbert. Of course, as you stated, we are from the Police Cooperative Credit Union, St. Kitts and Nevis Limited, and we are here this evening to talk about what PCCU is, and that's our short name. Sometimes it's a little tongue twister, but sometimes when persons don't want to read out the long name, we usually just call ourselves the PCCU or the Police Credit Union. As you previously stated, I am the general manager and just joined the family of the credit union last year in February of 2021, and I'm happy to be here and happy to be a part of this incredible movement.
Okay, and then, so that's you, and we also have Mrs. Lynn Bass, right?
Yes.
The operations manager.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert, and
Yes.
good evening to our listening audience. I am, as you said, Lynn Bass, and I'm the operations manager of the Police Credit Union. And tomorrow makes 2 years since I'm working here. So, congratulations. We're here to speak about the products that we offer and to our members and to invite other people to come and be members of our credit union.
Okay, very good. And then finally, Mr. Patrice Ward.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Herbert, and to those who are listening by radio and whatever other means to media coverage. I am Patrice Ward, the loan supervisor. I've been here for the past 3 years. As a matter of fact, late August made it 3 years. And it's a pleasure working here because you get a chance to serve a lot of the members of our armed forces. So it's an opportunity to serve them as well. So I'm here to talk about loans and the various credit facilities that we offer at the Police Credit Union. So when my segment comes for the question and answers, I'm looking forward to be taken seriously.
Okay.
To assist.
All right, so very good. So let's get in some detail now. We're going to begin with Mrs. Phillip.
Hello?
Yes, I was saying that let's get into some detail in terms of the functions and the operations of the credit union.
Okay. I'll lead on that, Mr. Herbert, and just talk about PCCU, the Police Credit Union. Of course, we are a credit union. We are governed and regulated by the Financial Service Regulatory Commission. We were firstly established on the 20th of January 1984. We're celebrating 38 wonderful years of serving the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our founding members, which we are happy and always proud to speak to, Mr. Stanley Franks and Mr. Felix Hodge. Of course, when we were first established over 38 years ago, we were mainly serving the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force. But throughout the years, we've had membership expansions. We've had those in 1989, 2019, and 2021. So we're now a credit union that serves much more than the members of the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force. We're now serving, including the police force, the defense force, the reserve of the defense force. We also serve the St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services, Her Majesty's Prison, St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority, CASPA, the security forces. We are also serving employees of Customs and the Excise Department, the Immigration Department, National Prosecution Service, the High Court Registry and Magistrate Department, and the Ministry of National Security overall, including non-civilians and civilians. We're also serving the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs. We're also serving family members of all the above that I just mentioned. And we are happy to state that in the very near future, maybe just about a month or so away, we'll be welcoming new persons outside of this criteria to the family of the Police Credit Union. But we'll have more on that exciting new opportunity in the near future. But I want persons to stay tuned and listen out. We are going to be here tonight and talking about the benefits and why you should want to be a part of the Police Credit Union, and hopefully have you intrigued enough persons who are not within the names of the persons and then the bodies that I've just listed previously who would want to be a part of the credit union movement, we love to say that membership has its privileges, and we are numerous here at the Police Credit Union, and we'd want to have as much person participate and benefit from these products and services and initiatives that the credit union has overall. We are here, we are interested, our vision, our motto, we are about people, our motto is our members are our movement, and we are not just about serving in terms of loans and selling your products. We're here about building our member holistically in terms of educating you, in terms of giving you financial counseling on how to best position yourself and your family to a solid position in terms of your financial wealth and your financial literacy, and overall in terms of creating that generational wealth for you and your family. I know I've said a lot, Mr. but thank you for listening to me give you that brief history in terms of the credit union and the credit union movement. Just want to add further that we are a proud and strong credit union that's financially secure, financially stable, and ready to offer ourselves to serve our members and prospective members.
Okay, very good. Do we have also an expansion from Mrs. Bass?
Yes, we within the credit union, in order to become a member, one has to have permanent shares. And permanent shares is your investment in the credit union. Once from the shares, once there's a profit made, the part of the profit goes back as dividend to our members. And over the years, the Police Credit Union is known for sharing the highest percentage of dividends to our members. Also, we have several types of savings accounts. We have a regular savings account. This regular savings account is like a mini, almost like a fixed deposit. The only thing, you don't have a set term that you can interfere with it. You can bill on it each time, you can deposit on it regularly, and then if you want to withdraw, you give us a notice in writing for 24 hours, and your funds are available to you. This account, we give you 3.5% interest per annum on this account. We also have a special savings, which is your day-to-day savings, which members will put their monies on and they can withdraw it as frequently as required. And this savings, we give you 3% per annum interest rate on it. We have a Christmas club. You know, everybody likes to save for Christmas. So we encourage our members to open a Christmas club account in December, and it runs for 1 year. We close it in November, and you have your funds that's ready to put for December. You can, some people like extra funds to go into the troops or to dress up your house, to give your house a fresh look, new fresh looking paint, or whatever you choose to do. You have that Christmas club funds to spend. And that Christmas club, we give you 4% per annum interest rate on that account. The youth are not left out. We have our junior savers, which we encourage family members to save for our youth. You can save for their education, for future use, and that account we also give you 4% per annum interest on that account. We have a product named line of credit, and when you have a line of credit loan, we also encourage you to have a line of credit savings. That savings account we give you 3%. And Mr. Ward is going to speak some more on that line of credit, because how it works, when you're paying down your loan, you're building up the line of credit savings. So when you complete your line of credit, when it's depleted your funds, you almost have the same thing in savings. So you're not out of pocket with cash. I'll stop here for now and let Mr. Ward speak to the loan products we have.
Mr. Herbert, just before
Yes.
Mr. Ward comes in, I know Mrs. Bass would have just listed all the amazing products that we have in terms of our investment and savings portfolios. But just want to add also and highlight that this credit union is really about thrift. We encourage savings. We recognize we've just coming out the throes of a global pandemic. Persons would have said to us repeatedly that they were so happy that they would have saved on such a regular basis. Our interest rates are attractive, and persons, yes, you might feel a little bit reluctant sometimes in terms of savings for a rainy day. Sometimes we think our expenses are so much that we can't afford to save. But persons have said to us, thank God for the credit union. During this difficult time, I was able to access funds and have something to help myself and my family survive this real financial downturn that the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis was experiencing. So we're here and we're serious about thrift. We're serious about having our members build some sort of financial stability for themselves and their families. So that is what we pride ourselves on, not just servicing and serving you alone, but also helping you to grow and build your wealth.
Okay, very good. Mr. Ward?
Yes, good evening once again, Mr. Herbert. At the Police Union, we offer a wide range of credit facilities in which we try to satisfy and meet our members' needs. So some of the facilities that we offer is for consumer financing, such as vacation, home repairs, and also buying vehicles and any personal borrowing they may need. We are presently encouraging persons to consider our line of credit that will be able to assist them, in the case they have any financial emergencies. Because presently we are offering up to $25,000 for a line of credit. As Ms. Bass indicated, not only trying to give you a loan, but we're trying to encourage you to save at the same time. So therefore, you can have something put aside for a rainy day. One of the things that we are trying to encourage our members to is consider home ownership, because that is a major means of empowering our members to being able to provide for their families and also secure their own future in the long run with home ownership. So we are offering attractive interest rates in terms of the financing of homes where they want to buy or build. We are offering attractive rates, to facilitate affordability and to make the investment possible for most of our members. So if persons are interested in pursuing either home ownership, consumer financing, even educational studies, we are providing the necessary credit facilities to assist. So even for business loans, we are catering for those who may have the entrepreneurial spirit that they wish to facilitate a venture that they always want to pursue, because even though we are working, sometimes an opportunity may come across where we can pursue a business idea that we have been playing with in our minds. And this might be a golden opportunity for persons who wish to consider doing such to come in. We can sit down, we can discuss, we can shape that idea into a reality. So, Mr. Herbert, for those who are listening, there is so much we offer at the Police Credit Union in terms of financing. But one of the key things that we are also encouraging persons to save while they borrow, so therefore they can weather any storm that comes along with it. So the segment that persons be able to call and ask questions, we are here to answer questions, or if they wish to come in to see us to have a one-on-one interaction, that works out perfectly as well.
Okay. Very well, and you just heard Mr. Ward giving you an invite. If you have a question you'd like to ask or a comment you'd like to make, for clarification, whatever, even a suggestion, I'm sure they will, appreciate it. So you can call now at 1-869-469-16 and 1700. Remember, as I indicated, we have a second segment coming up, so you want to do that as early as possible. Now, having listened, I have to let you know that as far as I'm concerned, especially the part with the savings and the interest paid on the accounts and stuff like that. I got to let you know that it caught my ear. And as I mentioned about the second segment, I have a financial expert that I turn to with all thing monies. So when we do that second segment, I'll ask him how does that sound? And if he gives you a pass, right, then you're in good standing.
I'm certainly will, because these rates that we're giving now, Mr. Herbert, they are really competitive, they're really attractive, and they're above what the banks are certainly giving to the public, to the general public. But of course, we are a credit union. The credit union really have different goals. We're about empowering our members, our shareholders, and so we give back. We give back to our members who are the owners of this credit union, and that is our way of giving back. We try our best to minimize and where we can avoid the lot of fees that comes with operating an account. So there are minimal fees involved in having an account and maintaining an account here at the credit union. And we are not driven by profit. And what profit we have, it goes back to our members. Mrs. Bass would have spoken to permanent shares in terms of the investment that you make into the credit union. And whatever monies we make, you get back at the end of the day in the form of dividends. So this is really about empowering our members in terms of a whole complete circle. We like to say, you invest with us, you borrow with us, and you save with us. So you are growing holistically, and that is what the credit union, the Police Cooperative Credit Union, provides to our members.
Yeah, it's a clear illustration of what we say around here is taught that get results, because 3% and 4%, those things have not been around for a while, in other institutions.
Years,
but
persons are asking, how can we do this? But we're able to do this right now. Of course, we know the future. We're dealing with a very dynamic economy, and we know we're feeling the pressures of the COVID. But I would say the credit union has been offering these rates as far back as I think maybe for at least 5 years. 5 years. No movements have been in the past 5 years to our interest rates. So I would encourage persons to get it while they can.
Right.
Get it while they can, and really let your monies work for you. Let your monies work for you.
They said that's why I highlighted it, because I found that you mentioned it, but you've been very conservative about it, because that's a big deal. That's a big deal with that percentage. But as I said, when I get to the next segment, I'll ask my financial expert, who I go to for all things monies, and I'll hear what he says. So when we are finished, you're still listening. The other thing I found is interesting is that I think you had mentioned that you've been on that position for 2 years, and Mrs. Bass 2 years, and Mr. Ward 3 years, yet the credit union is about 30 something plus. Did you come up through the ranks, or were you a member all the time?
For me, I actually joined a year ago. Just over a year ago. No, I was not a part of the credit union movement before joining this amazing organization. I had I worked for the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for many years, and previous to that, I was a part of the private sector where I worked in accounting and finance. And of course, not being a part of this particular credit union, I've been a member of the credit union movement in itself in St. Kitts and Nevis for many years. And we're a brotherhood and sisterhood, we like to say. And of course, PCCU is what you would have considered a closed bond credit union. So we served a particular interest of the population for many years, until we are now broadening, when we started broadening our scope in terms of our membership, who we provide membership to. But it's not any particular person could have joined membership to this credit union. But of course, people are now begging, they're asking us, how can we be a part of this credit union? How can we benefit from the great products and services that the credit union offers? And the credit union has been responding throughout the years in progressively accommodating other persons outside of its core membership body.
Right, and that's also of some significance, because while you're doing this expansion and has been doing it for a while to include other sections of the public, it still says the Police Cooperative Credit Union. So the name alone will not give enough justice to the expand of coverage that you have in terms of membership and people who can join.
We understand that, Mr. Herbert, but I will tell you this. We stand proudly behind our name. We stand proudly behind of where we came from.
Yes.
The credit union, the police credit union was started, of course, I would have said, by Mr. Stanley Franks and Mr. Felix Hodge, out of really a need. It was a need to assist the policemen and women of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, who were really going through some difficult times at that time. And even though there was much resistance in terms of, why should I be a part of this? Throughout the years, persons have given testimony upon testimony about the greatness of this credit union and how this credit union has been able to help them. And I'm talking about our core members, the police. And throughout the years, the police, men and women, of course, the other national security forces that came along the way, is that really built this credit union. We are over $54 million credit union, and we were built off of the sweats and the bones and the efforts of our national security forces, and we're proud of that.
And when they operate in the credit union, because as a populace, we're still, in terms of our financial literacy, we're still sort of shy in dealing with some of the other financial institutions. But you get the feeling that in institutions such as this, your cooperative credit union, people of different persuasions and levels of financial literacy, they feel comfortable?
Yes, they do, and I'll let Mr. Ward speak to what he does, and because we're here to serve everyone. We like to say we serve the underserved, we're the poor man's, we call it the poor man's bank. You know, throughout the years when you couldn't get $100 loan, a credit union was here to help you, and we were here to help our national security forces. And as part of our, especially lending package and our lending department, we are involved very much in financial counseling. Mr. Ward is an expert at that in terms of, I let him speak for himself. Mr. Ward, Mr. Herbert here about what to do.
Yes,
not
Mr.
just
Ward.
selling a product, but also advising and educating our members.
Okay, Mr. Herbert, I'm back again. One of the key things in lending is that you have to understand person's lifestyle and the way they manage their financial resources. Because a lot of times we try, in our instance, especially at the police union, we try to match the person's income with packages that they can manage, be comfortable repaying, and still be able to save. Since I've been here, one of the things that has been a benefit to me is that persons would have known me from my previous work experience at another institution. It was kind of easy for them to sit and discuss and see how we can work things out to suit their financial needs by giving them a package that satisfies their financial goals and at the same time still be able to save. That is critical, especially as we try to blossom the credit union, because the savings help in that we have funds to lend and persons can be comfortable repaying loans that therefore they could see the financial goals being turned into a reality gradually, and also with a plan in going towards some of their financial goals within a time span. And plus, we are growing in terms of numbers with additional support, so persons can come in and see either me or another loan officer to get that guidance.
And especially in the last few years, because everything surrounds COVID these days, and it was especially, and perhaps still is, very difficult for some persons. You find the credit union especially important, very significant at this time in terms of, helping, doing the packages and so on.
Yes.
One thing we do, Mr. Herbert, is that if one gets a loan, rather than when they say your installment is $100, we encourage you to send $125. So you pay for the loan with $100, you save the $25. So that $25, it builds up and it's there for you on a rainy day.
So the persons feel comfortable with that, and it's the idea you said, Mr. Ward, is to understand in their circumstances and then working something out that is comfortable for them.
Yes, Mr. Herbert.
Yes, Mr. Herbert. We're here at the Police Credit Union. We're about building people. We're about building relationships. Our members are not just a transaction for us. We're here about growing. We sit, we communicate, we talk to you. We encourage and nurture a relationship. From Mrs. Bass spoke to that junior account, which when you reach the age of 18, you transition out of that category of account to full membership. And throughout your life, when your goals change, the credit union is here to meet you at every stage of your life and in every stage of your financial goals. This credit union is here for you and here to serve you. We're here, we offer you your junior savers account. When you start working, we open you to full membership. You want to go off to study, we give you an education loan. You're back, we help you with a vehicle. The next step is to home ownership. We're here for you as it's time to settle down and invest and grow your wealth. We're here for you in terms of providing that cushioning and savings that will buffer for you in your retirement. So we're here from you from the early stages of life to the very later stages of life. Your credit union is here for you.
Oh, okay. So just two areas in the time left I'd just like to highlight. You pointed out the dividends that you pay, and obviously it is a difference you're highlighting in reference to, for instance, a fellow like me who goes to a different institution and spend some money there, do some business, get loans and everything, save money, and at the end of the year gets nothing in terms of dividends. But were I to do some transactions with you and then you make a profit, you're suggesting that of that I get something back?
Yes, because we have it that each member is the owner of the credit union. Once you're a member, you own the credit union. So the owners, they have to get something back, so you get it back in your dividend.
Okay, and then just finally, I would like to ask, in reference to your outreach and what I would call your campaign to broaden the organization, who can join?
Yes, I would have spoken to a number of bodies, and of course I would have stated family members. People are not usually aware of this. They're thinking that, okay, I have a brother who's in the police. The brother can join. He's a policeman. He can join. But that policeman, his mother can join. His father can join. His cousin. Oh, Mrs. Bass is saying now, reminded me that the cousins and the aunts, the whole family circle is welcome to be a part of the credit union. So we're not just serving policemen and women. We're serving the whole ambit of the armed forces and security forces, also their families and their extended families. You spoke to our campaign, and I just want to talk about that for a half a second. We are PCCU on the move right now, and we're bringing awareness. It's a membership drive, and it's also a reassurance campaign to establishing strong membership relations with our new and prospective members. That's why we're here. We're reaching out to persons. We're saying, your credit union is here for you. How can we re-engage you as part of our as Mrs. Bass said, you're an owner in this institution. Persons who have been sitting by on the sidelines wanting to be a part of us, not certain who can be or who cannot be a part of this credit union. That is why we are doing this, because we are getting the questions. People are saying, hey, how can I join this credit union? And I want to also at this time ask persons to visit our Facebook page, ask persons to visit our Instagram page, where over the upcoming weeks you'll be hearing great things about the credit union. We are at the Police Credit Union, and our handler on Instagram is PCCUKN, and we are inviting persons to go on our social media platforms where you will be getting information on a timely basis in terms of what is happening with our PCCU on the move. Also, we are located on Keon Street in the East Daniel building. Want persons who have questions. Of course, this program is a short program, and we're so thankful for you having us here on tonight, Mr. Herbert. But persons who are out there who want to find out more about the credit union, they can visit us on Keon Street. We're in the East Daniel building, or you can call us at 465-9554. We'll be happy to take any questions or just to engage you in terms of conversation.
They have an old time saying, open confession is good for the soul, and I got to let you know how refreshing it is for me to hear from you this evening in terms of my financial literacy aspect. But here's my final question. How financially strong or sound is the PCCU?
We are happy for that question. I think I would have mentioned to pass it very lightly. I didn't stress on it. But of course, I'm saying that we are a closed bond institution still under that. We started as that, but we're really now opening our doors. And we are over $54 million asset organization. That's a lot of money, Mr. Webbo. We're financially strong, we're financially stable. Every year we're growing our asset base, we're growing our membership, but we want to do that at a faster rate. We want to have more persons involved in the credit union, be a part of benefiting from what the credit union offers. I will tell you, being able to afford and offer the rates that we're offering, and every 3 months, because we pay our interest quarterly to persons, it speaks to prudence, it speaks to soundness, it speaks to financial stability while we are able to do this. And of course, again, I've told you that we are a proud and strong financial credit union, and we're here to just grow the institution and by extension grow and strengthen our members' financial position as well.
And obviously, especially for the public sake, under the guardianship of the ECCB or some other financial institution?
We are, as a credit union, we are regulated. We are a regulated body, and we are regulated by the Financial Services Regulatory Commission, or we call them the FSRC. We are guided very much heavily and a heavily regulated institution. The credit union movement is a $1 billion movement here in St. Kitts. Mr. Herbert, it's a big deal. And of course, we are here. We have to safeguard our people's money. We have to safeguard our members' money, ensure that when they're ready for it, it's here for them, they have access to it. So that calls for some level of prudence. It calls for level of diligence, and we just at a level of governance that has to be enforced as well. And of course, we are ably assisted by our board of directors and our executive body, all volunteers who serve the credit union movement.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody. Mrs. Melissa Phillip, who is the general manager of the PCCU, Mrs. Lynn Bass, who is the operation manager, and Mr. Patrice Ward is the loans supervisor. Now, I'd like to thank you all very much. and said to you that we would very much like to speak with you again sometime with this audience, and so that at least we can have some variety, and learn more about this. We wish you all the very best. Now, as I normally will do, I'll give you the last few minutes each to make your closing arguments. Make your case.
Okay.
Of why the listener there should join or be a part of you.
Yes, come on in and join. Those who are members already, come on in and do some more business, and we're here happy to serve you.
Back again.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here, especially for us to talk about what we offer at the Politics Union. It's a golden opportunity not only to borrow but also to save and invest. So persons who are listening, especially for young persons who have family members who are members of the Politics Union, here's a golden opportunity for you to come in, have a discussion, because as the manager pointed out, from birth to retirement, we are playing a major part in your financial landscape. So as for a young person who just finished in school, who wish to study, we have an opportunity to assist in their educational endeavor. For someone who wish to own land and think about a home in the future, we are part of that landscape as well. So in many ways, we are offering credit facilities to assist in whatever way, even with debt consolidation, because after the crisis had hit us, many persons would have faced some challenges. So debt consolidation is something that we do to assist our members. So we offer so many packages to assist in many ways. So an opportunity is being extended for members and their families to come in, sit with us, and see how best we can shape the way forward for them.
Thank you again, Mr. Herbert, and Melissa Philip here again in terms of my wrapping up. Want to just allow me to speak to our actual audience in Nevis. The fact that we are here speaking to you and your listening audience is no mistake. This is an intentional effort because we serve the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, our armed forces is a federal body. And it's a federal movement in terms of the police, the national security is a federal movement. So we have persons who are stationed in Nevis, and we serve them as well. We're luckily and thankful for our partner, the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, who has throughout the years, many years, have been ably assisting us in serving our members. Because we don't have a physical presence over there, we would have signed an official memorandum of understanding with the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, who serve our members for us on our behalf. And I want at this point to say thank you to the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union for really embracing and embodying the whole cooperative spirit and helping the police folk and the national security folk in our federation to be able to make and do financial transactions wherever they are in the federation. If you are in St. Kitts or if you are in Nevis, you can do business in either island. So we're thankful for the many years of partnership with the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union to help serve our members. So we're here not just for the police folk in St. Kitts and their families and the whole bodies that I spoke to, but also their families on Nevis as well. So we're thankful for that, and until we get some place of our own, I want again to say thank you to the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union for helping us to assist our members. And in my final wrap-up, I want to say thank you to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis who have stood by the credit union over the years. 30 years is not 38 days. We are here for many years, serving, growing, helping the people to achieve their financial goals, helping you throughout the stages of your life. And we are going to be here serving you in the future. We have many plans in store for you. We're updating our technology. We're hearing you. You're asking for more from the credit union with regards to having an online presence and being able to serve you in a more updated updated and modern technological way. And the credit union is hearing you, and we're going to be responding to your needs. So again, I want to thank you for having us, Mr. Herbert. We're thankful for the opportunity to share in terms of the good news, in terms of the good products and services, the magnitude of products and services that the Police Credit Union offers. And we are happy to and ready to assist and serve all persons who are interested.
Okay, thank you very much once again, and thank you, and hopefully sometime in the future we'll talk again. Mrs. Melissa Phillip, the General Manager of the PCC, Police Cooperative Credit Union. Mrs. Lynn Bass, the Operations Manager, and Mr. Patrice Ward, the Loans Supervisor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's the first segment of the program. We'll be back with the second segment right after these.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938.
Back in this episode of Thought That Get Results with our second segment. Our first segment featuring members of the Police Cooperative Credit Union and their campaign for new members and their expansion. If you just heard the program, you get an idea of how to call them up and find out how you can be a part of that. One thing that stuck with me, and I'm going to ask my financial expert in all things money what he thought about a particular segment. I'd asked the group to hold on for a few minutes so I could get that answer. But first off though, Conrad Niall Liebert, good evening.
Good evening to your staff here at Phone Radio, to Mr. Stanley, good evening, and to everyone in tune to the program, good evening. Webbo, once again, I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to a healthy discussion this evening, Webbo.
Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the people of St. Kitts and the gracious people of Nevis, those who listen to us on the World Wide Web through Facebook, YouTube, as the case might be, and throughout the Caribbean Basin. We are here again this evening to disseminate information and to take your questions, and we hope we are in position to answer them satisfactorily. Whether you have asked me, let me throw out something to Mr. Ward.
No, before we do that though, I just want to say a very pleasant good evening to Ted Hobson. So I just want you to know, Ted, we're always thinking about you, and hope, of course, that you're doing well. I glimpsed Ted today, and Ted is strolling like when he used to, way back when, stroll to the wicket when he was playing cricket. He is looking well. Hope everything is well, Ted, and I got to, as I said, let you know, and I think you know, we're always thinking in you, so we just want to give you a shout out and have a good evening. The other thing, before you get into the details, Edric, specifically though, I had told the persons from the Police Cooperative Credit Union that I'm going to put something to my financial expert who I go to on all things money, which is you. and they're sporting some interest rates on savings. And I said, but what do I know anyway about these things? That those things are great. So I want to hear from you. What you said goes. What do you think of those?
It's not a bad rate, but let me put it in the positive way. It's a good rate. But we must also ask, what is the rate on loans? What is the rate on loans? Because I understood that if somebody comes to borrow $100,
but you're just my financial expert and on all things money and everything else. The specific question I'm asking you, the interest rate that you're giving on savings, were someone to go there and have a savings account, is it a good rate in comparison to the financial market or not?
it's a good rate, Webbo, but at the same time, there are two sides to a story. And I was just trying to give you...
Work with me. So in other words, if I go and I put some money in a bank, right? A financial institution, and I let's say I have a $10,000 or $15,000, and then they tell me they're going to give me a 5% interest rate. Then I must say, but wait a minute, how much for loans? I ain't going for no loan, one thing at a time. That's not correct?
Well, I didn't say them. I said them in the same breath, but I had to do it one at a time. Follow me closely. They give you 3.5% return on what you have saved. They also give you, depending on what the profit is, dividends. That, of course, those, of course, are on the plus side. Did I answer your question?
Well, you did.
You didn't want me to give you additional information.
Everybody does that. The other day I asked a lady, for instance, we're in the playground, and this perhaps is our light moment for the evening. And I asked a lady something, if she was already, if she was 18 already, to see whether or not she qualified, because we were talking about alcohol to get a prize or something, right? So I just wanted to know if she meets the age limit. And then she went on and told me she's 25. So from that I gleaned how to go about asking somebody, a lady, how old she is. So you were something like that.
All right,
when a person wants to know one thing, they just ask you something else. Am I correct?
Quite so.
Okay, so in other words, the next thing you might tell me to keep with the light moment, and then we move on. So by asking you whether an interest rate of 4% and 3.5% on the savings is top of the market these days, the next thing you'll probably tell me is how much money you have in your savings account.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay, so let's finish with that. Okay. Now
let me give the fellow, Mr. Ward,
yes,
a tip, maybe as another marketing product.
You see what I mean when I say, Naya, that he is a financial expert in all things money. He hears about money and he just can't stop talking. Anyway, go ahead.
Mr. Ward, if you're listening, I don't know if you are precluded from endowment for children. An endowment is a set amount at maturity, but you could look and see how many births in the nation day to day and find the parent of a newborn child. And if you are not precluded from offering the child an endowment. Offer the parent the endowment for the child. By the time the child reaches 18, that endowment comes to maturity, and that child would have X number of dollars based on the size of the endowment to have money at his 18th or her 18th birthday. Well,
Okay, maybe what we can do one of these evenings is get some of these financial giants in and have a discussion on money. What do you think?
listen, you're the host, you guide the ship, and you have guided it for 35 years.
So that's what you think? In reference to the question I asked?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right. So, but anyway, you found it to be interesting.
I find it to be very interesting, yes. As you say, 3.5% on your savings. It's not very exciting to me, though, to be quite honest.
You know what the other people give?
They probably give a little less, but with the rate of inflation and so forth, you know.
No, but when in other words, if somebody gives you 2% and somebody gives you 3.5 or 4, which is twice the amount.
Well, on a particular, on that very particular, I think it's in 2 cases from youth account and another one they give you 4. And then 3.5.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if somebody gives you 2, and somebody else gives you 3.5, you know, I'd like to use the word, you know, on a percentile basis.
It's a lot.
What that is? Huh?
A huge amount.
A huge amount.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to point that out because you see, and that is part of the the education that we need, so that people instead of sometimes dismissing things would go through the numbers and the lines and understand what something is all about.
Yeah, but I think the market rate is about 3%, right?
That's what you think. Let's go to our financial expert.
Well, I'll tell you, based on the competitive edge which everybody wants, they do change their rates depending on the institution. They don't stick a shingle out there with a set rate and stick with it. Depending on who has what, they compete and they change their numbers.
So they change the numbers
in order to attract.
Work with me. They change their numbers depending on who you are.
True.
Okay, so you see, and that is why I said perhaps we need to organize a discussion on this finance thing so that people can get financial education, right? And understand what it is and see whether or not a credit union really will help them as a smaller person, and then allow people like you to go to the different financials use as a big conglomerate. No? Well, information is power, and in that regard, it helps you to maybe get ahead of the pack. Navigate, yeah. But now you go ahead.
No, but Mr. Stanley didn't answer the question. I would really like to know what's the average. I know it fluctuates and they adjust things, but what can you say is the average interest rate in the market per saving?
It fluctuates, and they go after clients, and depending on who has what.
Most importantly, Webbo, I think the availability of credit is a good thing. That is a feature of living in these little islands. And sometimes I wonder how they get it do, really. But yes, we have access to credit, various institutions. And I think the PCCU can almost say that they serve the general public. of course, if you're gonna have a policeman and his father, brother, uncle, cousin, and everything else, or anybody in other areas of government, it almost works out to be the general public, right?
In fact, while they were speaking, Miss Milicia, I had a little note to say to her afterwards. In other words, in a parabolic way, you serve everybody. Because as you said now, if he's the policeman and then his cousin and his uncle and so on and so forth, you cover the whole society.
You cover everybody, which is a good thing.
Yes.
I do enjoy when there's availability of credit in this kind of growing atmosphere where you know, the state of our economy and our development and so forth. I mean, the things we see is basically because of the availability of credit around us, and it gives great hope and optimism for those who, of course, is steering the ship sometimes, and it's a good impetus, a good encouragement, quite attractive thing to have in a growing nation like St. Kitts Nevis. Credit. We have a lot of credits around here. We do.
Right. Okay. So again, you know, to the folks who were in the first segment, we appreciate their conversation and their information, and we encourage you to, in the public, to follow up with it, see whether or not it can help you, and whether or not you want to be a part of it. Now, on to something else. I'm going to get to somebody sent us a note from last week, and we encourage you, if you like to do the same, you can send us notes as well, and we will check it out and see. So I'm going to do this note in a bit, but before I go to that, I just wanted to mention something on the international scene. And you know, Britain has now installed a new prime minister. Is a woman. And it's interesting in the discussion, Liz Truss, I think she is, and there's the discussion and the analysts and so on in terms of how they think she will do coming into a very difficult period, etc. So that I find that's interesting. The other thing that I found is interesting and intriguing is that as Boris Johnson was leaving, he gave his final speech, and the BBC had reported that he highlighted his accomplishments from his standpoint, his major accomplishments, and to put it mildly or simply, in a nutshell, they said that he, of his own view and evaluation, was great. And the reporter said, and that's why I like these international reporters. They always give you the two sides of the story, or in case there are more. They said, but the opinion polls suggest the direct opposite. So that he, of his own accord, is concluding that he was one of the greatest. The people who he served, though, in an opinion poll, gave him an opposite evaluation. So I find that very interesting, and maybe if you all want to make a comment on it, not in general, but so I had a discussion with a few persons about that, and one person opined politicians normally have a habit of listening to their own echoes. So I just thought that's interesting. In case you want to comment, anybody?
Well, obviously, he was the architect of Brexit. And he actually led Britain through that period. I'm not sure if it is good or bad, but at the same time, he has to live in the house that he built. He lived in the house that he built, exited, but before he exited, he felt that he was leaving the house at a high, based on what you have concluded or heard from the pollsters, they've given him quite an opposite mark, simply because they have dealt with more than Boris Johnson. They dealt with the public, and the public, of course, knows what Boris Johnson did during his tenure, and would have given him a negative mark. Webbo.
No.
I think Boris is like a product of Oxford, and trust me, and like many of the British prime ministers, and a lot of things that happened during school reached to the high stage of politics in England. And I think Boris just wanted to be prime minister, and he have achieved that, and he felt and is still feeling good about it. And then with the Brexit thing, regardless of the outcome, he think he have done something in history which is notable, very fundamental in British politics. And so he felt like he did had success in his tenure, I think. And so I could understand his personal feeling when you have such limited view as to your objective or your ambitions, you know. But of course, the public see it different. It's better when it's the other way around. Of course, when the public see you are worthwhile and notable and you're worthy to be, then you simply thinking that way, and the public thinking opposite. But I think I can see Boris being that kind of personality, would feel like he have reached the higher point of his life, becoming the prime minister one, and doing something fundamental as taking Britain out of the European Union. He can feel good about that.
So there are two maybe objectives here.
Yes.
So he had one objective, which he grades himself by, and the people who he was serving had another expectation.
Yes.
I see. I find that's interesting, and thus we find ourselves in life in that conundrum where we are called or chosen to, let's say I am a mechanic or an air conditioning guy, and I'm hired. And as far as I go there and I fix the AC, I install it and everything, and the customer keep calling me and they're not satisfied with it. But as far as you're concerned, you did a great job. You're a great AC person.
His personal ego tend to override his responsibility to it.
So ain't that part of the trouble in the world, where we might be in a particular position? For instance, we do the show, and we think that we're doing such a great job, but the public don't like it. Okay. The other thing I wanted to...
We get feedback, we get feedback from the public, and so that analogy you just brought is not correct. The public feels we are doing a good job, and that is the case when we have exited these chairs. That's how we feel. We felt we have done a good job, and we get the feedback from the public. I'm not saying at all times we get a positive feedback, but 95% of the time we get a positive feedback.
No, he almost sounds like Boris Johnson, don't you think?
Yes, really. Boris.
Anyway, 469-1616 and 1700. Now, I mentioned that somebody sent a note, and I want to read the note. And it says that, let me get some assistance here. Let me take this first call and then get to that. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes. Good evening, Webbo. Good evening, Noya, and good evening, Mr. Stanley.
Good evening.
Yeah, Webbo. I don't know if you could recall. Should he all up in the year? I give you your kudos and your recommendation, and I classify you among the world top 5 radio talk show host and journalist. Now, you see tonight here, I hear listening. And when I heard you said that is one thing you like about those international journalists. They give you both sides. And you are so right. That is the reason why I qualify you with 5. Because you got some other journalists, so-called journalists, and radio talk show hosts. They only give the public one side of the story of one particular party or person. So again, Webbo, I commend you for the way you run your show. And I will always commend you. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so here I go. Good night, Mr. Stanley and Naya. Last week, a caller made a significant point when he said that the government should have included the CCM elected members as part of their cabinet endowed with ministerial portfolios. I fully concur with the caller. That would have been a turning point in the relationship between Nevis and St. Kitts. Because that was not done, it only means that the government will be focusing entirely on St. Kitts, despite the fact that the Prime Minister said he will be the Prime Minister of the 2 islands. This statement is ambiguous and divisions need clarity. However, now that Nevis is not a part of the federal government and sit in the opposition, my advice to Premier Brantley, who undoubtedly will be the opposition leader, unless, and I hope, he delegates to Mr. Jeffers, akin to what Premier Embry did in the case of Gishad. Furthermore, Premier Brantley should consider NIA, not NIA, but Naya, as the nominated senator in the opposition. The primary reason is Naya has been a very strong voice for and in the interests of Nevis for many years. Only Nevisians who reside in Nevis would be able to get Nevis's message across to the government in Parliament concerning Nevis's fair share. Dr. Harris and Mr. Richards, coupled with the government, are more than enough to look after St. Kitts. Consequently, Mr. Brantley, strengthen your hand in Parliament with the inclusion of another Nevis man in the person of Naya. He is eminently qualified and has the capacity to represent Nevis not only in Parliament but on the world stage. Okay, so that is the note that the caller, the person sent in via email. It has the sender on it, their email address, but unless the caller will send me a note, we have the record who it is, but I opt not to mention who the person is. Now, it was addressed to Mr. Stanley and Naya, so that if you would like to make a comment at this point, go ahead.
Well, Webbo, the false part which speaks to the caller contribution last week about the relationship, where he said that would have been a turning point in the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis if, of course, the Labour had included members of the CCM in their cabinet. That would have been a good gesture. That would have been a good gesture. But we weren't expecting that, really. And it would have been, from my point of view, absolute surprise. It probably would have been a good thing for Nevis, to be a part, again, of the federal government. And not just be a part of the federal government, be an effective part of the federal government, because too often we find ourselves a part of the federal government. Not very often that happens, but sometimes the portfolio that they give us doesn't really, give us that clout to exercise in what we want to exercise, probably for Nevis. But it would have been a gesture that would have pointed towards an outstretched hand, really, in terms of the relationship. It would have been a good thing, nothing, because you cannot say a gesture of that sort would have been bad, when one, Nevis would have been in the government and benefiting from it, to the very fundamental aspect of the back and forth between St. Kitts and Nevis, the relationship. And I want the politician them to know that that is fundamental, okay? That is fundamental. That is almost the biggest thing that exists between St. Kitts and Nevis. But it shouldn't be. And so it's something they probably need to address, and address very quickly and in a conclusive way. There are one or two ways to do that, and I think it comes down to respect, regardless of what ways any of the side decide, to use. And so I agree with the email sender in that respect. Further down, we speak towards strengthening the Nevis voice in the federal parliament, and he's recommending that NIA be included. And that would probably be a good thing, and I hope NIA would be willing to do that if that opportunity comes around. And I'm sure if he's willing to do it, he will be quite effective. And so it's for those who can call the shots to call the shots. NIA is ready and willing, but I must say this, that NIA fundamental focus really is about Nevis, and not to be a part of something that looks good but is not really good. And so, as I am a part of this program, Webbo Talk, that get results, if I'm involved on that political level, I hope to bring about some results for Nevis. And of course, that will be my prime objective. I guess everybody knows that I'm a secessionist, and when you think that way, Nevis is really up to your brim of your nose. It's high on your agenda in a sense. And so I believe that Naya will do a good job if he's asked to do that. And I'm sure a lot of people probably feel the same.
Well, if the caller recognized that we have this show on every Tuesday night, and if he listened or has listened, he might have recognized that shortly after the August 5th election, I vehemently and loudly made a statement regarding the inclusion of the 3 seats from Nevis into the federal cabinet, which would give us an opportunity to make the clarion call and to demand our fair share based on the hard work that Premier Brantley has done in the Foreign Ministry regarding the CBI program. Let me reiterate. The first opportunity that I got, I made mention of the inclusion of the CCM 3 seats to be involved and to be included in the federal cabinet, whereas we would have had the clout to demand from the Labour, St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party that formed the government, federal government, our fair share. And again, I reiterated that because of the tremendous work that Premier Brantley did, it would have given us an opportunity to be part of that construct, the federal government, be included, including the CCM candidates, the 3 seats from Nevis. But I would say probably he was not listening at that point in time to my dissertation regarding the 3 seats being included in the federal government. So I would say that at this particular juncture, it is water under the bridge, meaning the time has passed, the decision has been made, and they have in fact gone forward without the inclusion of the 3 seats from Nevis. Now, in a follow-up email, he might say he listened, but he forgot that I did mention that fact. It didn't happen. It may not be too late for it to happen, but we can look to the reality that it has not happened, and therefore we are in the opposition in the federal parliament. There's 3 seats from Nevis. So, regarding Niall's participation, as he has recommended, Premier Brantley, before the election, entertained the idea that the Constitution might have to be amended through the parliamentary process. I'm not sure if he still holds that view. But if he still holds that view, it means that those who are pushing the idea of secession for Nevis, it might be put on the back burner from the standpoint of the leadership of Nevis, led by the Honourable Mark Brantley, entertaining the thought of a parliamentary approach to amending the Constitution regarding we stay together. So, with his recommending that Niall becomes part of the opposition, not a bad idea, but it's not the best idea.
Okay, let me just take this and you can continue. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, I'm very sorry, caller. Could you call back? Edric, you can finish up then.
Well, I'll leave it there for now, Webbo.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the caller is calling back, so let me get that. And I have a question for you on that view that you just presented. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night, Webbo. And good night to your panelists.
Good night.
Webbo, your first segment, I don't want to be disrespectful, but your panelists, they are so very good and very positive. But even though I had an intention to join that corporation, I'm still waiting to hear what happened to the missing money. So they can't convince me to join them. I'm only one man. They cannot convince me to join them until I hear what happened to the missing money. That's a couple of years ago, and up to now. Not being heard about. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stanley, the question I have for you is that you said that you preferred the idea before of the Labour Party that won the 6 seats. When they're forming the government, they should include the 3 seats from Nevis, correct?
That is correct.
Your view is from a philosophical standpoint, or is convenience for a unit that or persons that you have a preference for?
It is having a practical approach to the fiasco that ended the last administration. And that practical approach would have been avoided had they invited or included the 3 seats from Nevis with reference to a larger body in the federal parliament.
So that only relates to that particular circumstance, so that it would not be anything that you recommend in general.
Specifically, I recommended it. I wasn't talking in gross generalities. I specifically stated it.
For this particular circumstance.
Right.
So that going forward on another occasion, if a party were to win the majority of seats, let's say 6 or 7, and then another party gets 2 or 3, whatever the another number is, but the circumstances are different, you would not prefer the same recommendation.
Well, based on what you are hypothetically bringing this into the equation, we have not arrived at that juncture yet.
Work with me. I'm asking you about the proposal that you made and trying to ascertain whether or not your proposal is from a philosophical standpoint, meaning that regardless to the circumstance you would apply it, or it was for the specific circumstance.
It was in a specific circumstance.
Right. Therefore, let's say next time around, we had, and the same circumstances don't exist, that thing, and then a party wins a majority of seats, 6, and then the other party wins 3, right? You would not, the circumstances being different, they don't appear as if you would not suggest that they do it.
No.
Okay. Just wanted to know that this is just for this specific case.
Quite true.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also saying that the best years are still ahead of us for this tiny nation, but yet this important nation can send a message to the rest of the world that we are cooperating, we are inclusive, and as a result, we are doing the best thing under the guidance of governance for the peoples of St. Kitts Nevis.
But that will take it out of the circumstance, wouldn't it?
No, Webbo.
No, what I'm saying is, right, but maybe I ain't get you. I want to make clear that you made the recommendation only because you had a circumstances whereby Nevis wasn't getting its fair share, and as a consequence, the government fell. Correct?
That is true.
Okay. So that whoever formed the government then should got the majority of the seats, should then ask the representatives from Nevis to be a part of it, much like what happened before in 2020 and before that. They should ask those to be a part of them, and then that will work the magic.
Hopefully, but specifically, we know if we were included in the federal government in this new dispensation, we will have the right to say to our colleagues whom we are a part of the governance apparatus, here we are with you, we want our fair share based on the production of the last foreign minister, who might have been reappointed to the foreign ministry to go back to do his great work. But
So-
it would have been easier
So that's why.
for us.
So that's why basically you want to apply it specifically to these men and this occasion, and not make it a general sense. So work with me so that if the next time around you find that there is an election, and let us say the PLP, for argument's sake, wins 6 seats, and the NRP on Nevis win 3 seats, you would not recommend that the PLP incorporate the NRP, who has the 3 seats for Nevis now, in, and then form the government so that they can get Nevis' fair share?
No.
No, okay, all right. I think I got you. Naya.
That's very good, Webbo, because I find it difficult to follow Mr. Stanley. It's like a nice dream, that seems to have drifted away from reality. Really, that's what it sounds like to me. Mr. Stanley is advocating, but the
If you look at the thing based on the very first part of the emailer,
spoke to
he
the
said that
relationship.
he was expecting something, or because that didn't happen, he knew that we are out into the opposition. We are in the opposition. They did not include us.
Yeah, but the email spoke to the relationship. So I would like to ask you, Mr. Stanley, what do you think the fact that the tree from Nevis was not included, what do you think that have done to the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis?
To be honest, back to square one.
Okay, and you will agree that if they were included, it would have been a good thing for the relationship.
Sure, obviously.
Good. Well, that's exactly what the emailer is saying here, basically.
The emailer is saying, based on Dr. Drew's position, we did not get a call for inclusion to participate in the governance of our people.
Well, let me ask you this from a practical standpoint. So we had 3 parties running in St. Kitts, fielding 8 candidates each. And you had different parties on Nevis aligning with parties. We are one. And you are going to be saying and expecting that you and I were campaigning in opposite different outlooks, etc., etc., etc. And then when one finishes, you're going to say that therefore you must
Come over here.
yes.
It doesn't work that way in real life, Mr. Stanley, at all. That's quite a lot to ask.
We are practical people, and as a pragmatist, it was not difficult, but based on party structure, based on how the chips fell regarding the majority winning the entire government, then the practical apparatus, which could be implemented by men and women,
So
did not take place.
the proposal I put to you just now, when you told me an emphatic no, we were not practical people and pragmatists.
The thing is,
that would change?
the thing is, that is more like a supposition, hypothetical case you brought to the fore, which was not in reality. That is just in case this happens. We
You know, a lot of the times we fail because when we're planning, we don't do suppositions. You know that?
True.
Oh, okay.
But at the same time, hypothetical cases are not practical cases. And in that regard, the issue at hand was that the federal government was won by a majority of 6. The application and inclusion of the 3 on Nevis, which would give us a practical approach to ask our colleagues in the same union, if we were invited and appreciated, accorded.
But why don't you put it across the board? Why are you going to limit it with according to who the people are, the elected people are? Why don't you? Why can't we then say, okay, if you have a certain number in St. Kitts that have been elected to represent St. Kitts, and a certain number that have been in Nevis, elected in Nevis to represent Nevis, why can't you say as principle, then they must combine and join, because these are the persons who represent in Nevis, the electorate say, and these are the persons representing, but you still want to tag it to particular individuals, right?
Yes, well, because the individuals won.
But this is what I'm telling you about. If you put it in black and white, as some fellows will say, the individuals will win too. This is good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, you're on the air. Could you go ahead?
Yeah. Webbo, first thing first. I almost feel like that 1700 number is not working, so I resorted to the 1616. Just something for you to check.
No, it is working. It ran, right?
Pardon?
It ran?
It ran.
Yeah, but
It
what happens was when I went to the call, you had hung up. But this is working.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. This is for Mr. Stanley. Here are 2 different reasons why it would have been better for the Dr. Drew-led government to include the 3 elected representatives from Nevis. Because of the fact that Dr. Drew said that he wants to work things out with Nevis, and he exposed the fact that he wants to, end the age-old difficulty between St. Kitts and Nevis. I think the easiest way and the best way to have done that would have been to include the elected representatives of Nevis. The other thing is, he said, the Labour Party has a 6-seat majority. That to me is a very slim majority. It's 1 seat away from a minority. Had he taken the 3 seats from Nevis, he would have put himself in a stronger position. That goes to the integrity, the respectability of the politician. The other thing that would have done, he would have had less opposition You know, a 6-seat majority is not enough to change legislation. I think it's the 2/3 majority. We need 6 out of 11. I'm not sure that gives us 2/3. So, although the Labour Party has 6 seats, the idea of not including or thinking that they could do it on their own might be a pie in the sky. We want to think about that. And not the kind of fallacy that Mr. Stanley is contemplating. Although he's contemplating the same thing for different reasons. Good evening.
Caller, I could ask you a question?
Sure.
You mentioned the majority, like the 6-seat majority, and one away from a 5-seat, which is a minority and stuff like that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so math, under the heading of math or arithmetic, 5 is greater than 3?
No.
No?
No. But
5 is not,
but
under arithmetic or math, 5, the number 5 is not greater than 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, but the point I was making, Webbo, is that 6 seats does not give you 2/3 of 11.
I got you.
Okay, good.
Right?
All right.
But you have said that under arithmetic and math, 5 is greater than 3.
Yes.
Okay, so if you have 5, you're still in a stronger position to run the government because the government was run with 3. You agree with that?
Well, that is true too, Webbo, but we gotta get past that kind of thinking, you know. I mean,
No, but I
really need to. Webbo,
this is not thinking, you know.
We need to get past this thinking that we could continue in a country with a minority government.
No.
The people are being short-changed when that happens.
Yeah, but the truth is, it was not thinking. You agree with that? It was real.
It was not what?
It was not thinking. That thing happened.
Yes, exactly.
So it is not thinking.
And it keep happening. It keep happening, and we need to get out of that.
Okay. All right.
We need to get out of that kind of thing.
So we need to get out of that practice.
Yes.
Okay. I got you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Well, I have here the last time we had a little debate. There is a phrase, alternate facts. Facts or fact is absolute. There is no way you turn it, you can get anything else. Fact is truth, truth is fact. Alternate fact, as labeled, we know can be labeled a lie. In my word, and I'm not trying to tell people to change an international slogan or statement, but alternate statement, an alternate statement should be used instead of alternate facts or fact. And if you think about it, those who use the slogan alternate facts or fact do not understand the absoluteness of the word fact. The word fact, again, is absolute. There is nothing in terms of changeability with that, but an statements, alternate statements can be changed simply because a statement in its own standing is not a fact. But a fact in absolution cannot be changed.
I like it, Mr. Stanley. Will you pull that one from Mr. Stanley? That's interesting. And I get you.
Wherever he pulled it from, that's the last word.
I agree with you, Mr. Stanley. That's true.
This program repeats tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On Demand. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. Thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis